Hello students, welcome to the channel. In this video, we'll solve the third writing passage of the March 2018 US SAT, The Inner Workings of Work. A specialist within the field of psychology, industrial organizational psychologists are hired by companies to apply psychological principles and research methods to the workplace. So here my main sentence is industrial organizational psychologists are hired by companies. And this is a modifier that describes industrial organization psychologists. So this has to be plural, just as the main subject is plural. So it can't be a. Specialists within the field. This is plural. So this is the correct answer. Being a specialist within the field. First of all, you don't need being, and this is singular. So this is wrong. Those that are specialists within the field. Again, this is not correct because I just need to say specialists within the field because the main subject is IO psychologists. Here, the main subject becomes those, and so the sentence can't have two subjects. So B is the answer. With the goal of improving workplace culture and organization, IO psychologists study many elements of a company, such as hiring processes, training, and employee work habits, and help implement changes to improve them. Though hiring an IO psychologist is an expense a company may be wary of taking on, it pays off. An investment in the expert guidance of an IO psychologist can yield process improvements, increased job satisfaction among employees, and cost savings. So here I'm saying hiring an IO psychologist is an expense a company may be, right? I'm using this as a verb. So it has to be two separate words. Maybe as one word is an adverb, right? So for example, maybe he'll come today, right? When I say maybe he'll come today, I'm basically saying perhaps he'll come today, right? So when maybe is used to mean perhaps, then it's one word. But when I want to say could be, right? It's an expense a company could be wary, so may be wary of taking on. So any option with a single word is wrong. And I'm saying very, right? Cautious, not very. Very with an E is tired, right? So the meaning that I am looking for is cautious. The company is cautious of taking on this expense, but it should. So C is the answer. IO psychologists strive to promote productivity and cooperation among employees. Eduardo Salas, an IO psychologist at the Institute for Simulation and Training at the University of Central Florida, consults with organizations to study how employees interact with each other and respond to challenges. For example, he has worked with NASA to study team dynamics among astronauts and the variables inherent in the isolated and dicey environment of outer space. Now here, this apostrophe S here and here, they are wrong because these are not possessives, team dynamics and the variables. So any option that has apostrophes is wrong. So the best answer is option B. The variables inherent in the isolated and dicey environment of outer space. So I'm saying hazardous, right? Something which is dangerous. Now, dicey, dodgy, and chancy, they are highly informal, and I would not use informal expressions in a formal passage. So the best answer is D. It is usually context specific. Salas says of his team training strategy. So when working with NASA, his goal was to provide recommendations that would keep astronauts safe and productive. Survey results can be an effective means of gauging the effectiveness of IO psychologists. A company's success depends largely on worker morale. A 2010 Gallup study found that productivity lost by unhappy, disengaged workers cost companies $28,000 per person annually. So which choice provides the best introduction to the main idea of the paragraph? So here I'm saying that we need IO psychologists because let's read a little further. To minimize such losses, some IO psychologists research ways to make employees feel valued and engaged. For example, they may design training courses to help employees learn new skills or advance to leadership positions. So here I'm saying that IO psychologists play an important part because they can ensure that employees are happy with their jobs. And that is important because productivity losses by unhappy, disengaged workers can cost companies a lot. So how to gauge the effectiveness of psychologists is not what this paragraph is talking about. So it's not A. Employee productivity can be affected by a variety of factors. Yes, but that's not a good introduction because here I'm trying to talk about how IO psychologists are important and how they can boost productivity. So it's not B. IO psychologists can also improve workplaces by focusing on employee satisfaction. So this is a good introduction because this brings out another thing that they do. They focus on employee satisfaction. So I like C. In addition to making recommendations, IO psychologists can suggest effective ways of implementing them. So this is not about implementing general recommendations. It's focusing on employee satisfaction. So C is the best answer. A company's success depends largely on worker morale. A 2010 Gallup study found that. So the first thing I notice is that this comma is wrong because a comma does not go between the subject and verb. So it's not A. In fact, any option with a comma after study can be cancelled directly. And then D, of course, is a good answer because I'm saying a company's success depends on worker morale. And then a colon will tell me how a company's success depends on morale. A 2010 Gallup study found that productivity losses led to costs of 28,000 per person annually. To minimize such losses, some IO psychologists research ways to make employees feel valued and engaged. Which choice provides the best transition? So the way it's written is good because we speak about the losses in the previous sentence. So to minimize such losses is good. Despite that study, that doesn't make sense because I'm actually using that study to make the next point. So B is not good. Although workers are often disengaged, no, so because workers are often disengaged, some psychologists research ways, so it's not C. Since productivity can vary, no, we are not talking about variable productivity. We are talking about a general loss of productivity in disengaged employees. So A is the best answer. A 2014 survey of the 500 fastest growing private companies in the US found that more than half are looking for innovative ways to attract and retain high performing employees. To meet these needs, companies are increasingly turning to the intuitions provided by IO psychology. Okay, so I don't want to use intuitions because I'm talking about a discipline, and intuition would make it sound that the discipline doesn't really rely on research. It just relies on whatever comes to the psychologist's mind. So this is not good. Insights is a good answer because you provide an insight based on data, based on research. So I like this. Perceptiveness does not really make sense in this context because perceptiveness is rather abstract. And here I'm looking for findings that I can work with. So not C. And discernment is also somewhat abstract, so doesn't fit the context. B is the best answer. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that IO psychology is still a relatively small field. The total number of psychologists is expected to increase 12% from 2012 to 2022. Which choice illustrates the claim made earlier in the sentence with information from the table? So it's still a relatively small field. So growth is not really explaining that. So I don't like A. There will be almost 1,000 more jobs in IO psychology by 22. Again, this talks about what will happen in the future while I'm looking for how the profession is currently. There were only about 1,600 IO psychologists in 2012. So yeah, so this is a good answer because it explains why it's currently a small field. The total number of psychologists is projected to be 178,900. No, so we are not talking about total psychologists, we are talking about industrial. And anyway, we are talking about the current state, not the future. However, IO psychology is one of the fastest growing fields in the country, expected to grow to 178,900 employees between 2012 and 2022. Which choice provides accurate information from the table to support the point made? So A is clearly not correct because this is about total psychologists, not IO. Estimated to grow 11%. No, it's not 11%, it's 56%. So C is the answer. And from 13,500 to 14,900 is other psychologists, not IO. So C is the best answer. Though companies must spend money to hire IO psychologists, but doing so is a worthwhile investment. So I already have though here, so this but is not needed. So A is wrong. This while, this however, none of these are needed. So the best answer is just D. Though companies must spend money to hire IO psychologists, comma, doing so is a worthwhile investment. Okay, let's grade this starting from 23. BCBDC, BCBDC, and 28, DABCCD, DABCCD. Okay, great. So we got all correct. Take care. Bye-bye.